Hello and welcome to the Columbia Daily Tribune's Behind the Stripes webcast, recruiting edition. This is sports editor Joe Waljasper along with Tribune football beat writer Dave Matter. Dave, to begin with, signing day was last Wednesday. Did you get the sense that Missouri got who they wanted and needed in the recruiting class?
I think for the most part, and there's always misses. You don't get everybody offer unless you're Texas. In Missouri's class, I think the couple that stand out in state that they didn't get were the two kids from Rockbridge, Rome and Millard, but we knew a long time ago that they weren't interested in staying home. So I think for the most part, the kids that Missouri wanted in the state, the ones they really narrowed their focus on out of state, they wrapped up, and they wrapped up this class sooner than just about any class in the country. I mean, they were done in December with a little bit of room to spare there in January. But I think for the most part, what they needed this year, they needed some quarterbacks. They got two. Could use some offensive linemen. They got the two best ones in the state. Needed some receivers. Went out and got three. And they really needed some defensive backs just because of their depth situation there, is having seniors, a bunch of seniors in this upcoming roster here in 2010. They got 7 cornerbacks and safety. So I think they replenished their areas that they needed. Now it's just a matter of, can these guys play and how soon can they play?
Mm-hmm. They got, I think the rankings were like in the 20s by the major Rivals.com and Scout.com, right. So that's pretty high compared to what they've been in the past. They did get 2 quarterbacks, so it's kind of an interesting situation now. Last year, obviously, they had some depth problems at quarterback where Blaine Gabbert kind of had to limp around for about a month because they really didn't necessarily have someone they really trusted backing him up. How do you see the quarterback situation shaking out now? You've got 2 highly touted true freshmen that are already on campus. Do you see them, if either of those guys, Tyler Gabbert or James Franklin, become the number 2 guy on the depth chart, do you see them playing next year, or maybe just give your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it depends on how advanced they are at the end of spring camp in April, and then how advanced they are coming into fall camp in August. And if these are guys that look like they can play, maybe move them up to 2. And maybe you don't play them. You don't go into the season with the idea of these guys are definitely going to play, but you put them at 2 and say if we need to, you're going to get some time. If a situation like what happened a year ago with Blaine happens again, maybe they can have somebody prepared. So they definitely have more talent there at quarterback now, but it's kind of a dicey situation when your starter is only a junior. If he were a senior, then I think you get one ready to play one for sure, like they did with Gabbert when Chase Daniel and Chase Patton were the seniors. But now that one's a junior, you kind of have to decide what if it's going to hurt your roster down the road to play one of these guys and burn a red shirt. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. It'll be interesting to see which one is further along, in a few weeks, and then in August too.
Mm-hmm. And then there's kind of just a strategy decision from the coach's standpoint. Do you want to give those guys a separate year of eligibility? I mean, redshirt one and not redshirt the other, so you've got a little bit of a stagger there. Or do you think by playing one, you're sort of inviting the other one to leave by saying, okay, well, now this guy's obviously ahead of me, so I'm going to go somewhere else?
And I think they go into a situation like this knowing that that's a good possibility. This is the 6th time Pinkel has signed 2 quarterbacks in the same class. For a variety of reasons, no 2 in the same year that signed have ever finished their careers as quarterbacks, both at Missouri. So, and a lot of different factors were at play there. But, I think both these kids go into that situation knowing too, and more power to them. They look at it as, hey, I'm not going to be the one to transfer. I'm going to be the one to win the job. Both highly competitive, good kids from everything we've heard about both of them. So it'll be interesting to see, how it all unfolds here in the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, next couple of years, really.
Mm-hmm. Which of these guys that they've signed do you think have a chance to play right away based on how good they are and then maybe what sort of the need is at Missouri?
I think for our part, we look more at where there is a need and where there's some openings. I think wide receiver is one. You obviously you lose Denario Alexander and you lose Jared Perry. You've got some decent players with some experience coming back, and Jarrell Jackson and Wes Kemp. But after that, it's a lot of really young kids. Kids that aren't that much older, aren't much more experienced than the freshmen you're bringing in. Marcus Lucas, kid from Liberty, who has the size already he looks like a Big 12 receiver. Bud Sasser, a kid from a really established program down in Texas. Denton Ryan plays in a really, I think, good spread offense. His quarterback, Scotty Young, is going to Texas Tech, was a highly recruited kid, so he's used to already being in an established passing offense. So he's another one I think could fit in right away. Then you look at maybe offensive line. I don't think you need anyone definitely to start by any means, but the last 2 years Missouri's recruited a true freshman and played him some as a true freshman because they were big enough to do it. And I think you look at Nick Demeen, and maybe he can fill in a two-depth spot possibly at guard where you have some room to maybe move somebody new in. So I think he's one. And then you look at the secondary. You've got a lot of seniors coming back, a lot of experience coming back, but we saw it's not the best pass defense in the world. So there will be some opportunities for guys, especially the junior college safety, Conrante Walker, already on campus. Missouri has done a good job of developing junior college safeties over the years with this staff. You look at Pig Brown, Nino Williams, the two guys that start spring campus starters, Jasper Simmons and Jarrell Harrison, were both junior college transfers. So I think this kid will get a shot.
Okay, and then this is kind of the point where we get to put on our amateur evaluators' hats. Based on the little DVD highlights that you got to see of the Missouri's recruits, who did you like?
Well, our opinions are kind of limited to the quality of some of these tapes, but there were a few that stood out. We mentioned Nick Demeen. He was a left tackle at Timberland High School, not a spread offense. They were more traditional power offense, but he's really agile for a big guy. They used him out, and they'd pull him from side to side, and he just looked like one of the best athletes out there. There was one play where they had to run off to the right side. He pulled from his left side, and he almost beat the running back to the end zone. That's how quick and light on his feet he was. And I also like Daniel Easterly. He's a safety from Detroit. Actually went to the same high school as A.J. Ofadale and Pat Ivey, both local guys that people familiar with their names, I'm sure. So he's a big, rangy 6'4" safety. The Missouri coaches like him. They think that, most guys his size and speed usually get moved to wide receiver. You don't see a lot of big 6'4", 6'3" safeties anymore, but he's a guy that looked really physical. Good range back there, so maybe he's a guy that could factor in down the road at safety. And then I liked both quarterbacks. I really did. Franklin plays in an offense much like Missouri's. Seemed like a really poised kid back there. Can run a little bit. His numbers show that he can, definitely. But I like the way he throws the ball. Looks like he could fit into this offense right away. And then Tyler Gabbert, too. I think some people might be skeptical of him for, one, his size. He's nothing like his brother. His numbers were not very impressive at Parkway West, nothing that you'd expect from a four-star recruit. But you turn on the film of him, and the film that we got at least, he can really throw the ball downfield. It looks like he's got some good arm strength for a kid that's probably not as big as his height and weight suggests. They have him as 6 foot, and I don't know if he's that big, but he can throw the ball, and he had a lot of pressure on him in a lot of those clips too. So I was impressed with what he can do, and like I said before, it'll be really interesting to see what shakes out at that position.
James Franklin looked like a pretty smooth operator. I guess going in, I thought maybe he was more of a dual threat guy, just from they only showed one run on his tape.
Yeah.
He didn't seem like he was going to be a guy who's going to be you're going to run the ball a whole lot with him in college. He looked like not a guy you're going to give the ball to 15 times.
Right.
It seemed like maybe he's just going to buy time with his mobility as opposed to being a running threat. I also was very impressed with, if you ever need a fake punt, Jimmy Hunt, I believe, is your man.
Yeah.
It seems like they have a system there at Cahokia where at any given time he's just going to get back in punt formation and just run the ball.
Yeah,
So, numerous fake punts from Jimmy Hunt. I think that could be a real addition.
He was a holder also for their team, so he may be factor in there.
And Tristan Holt, I thought they only showed him playing offense. I think he's going to be on defense, but he seemed to have some nice speed, kind of a gliding, but he was leaving guys behind. When you start talking about defensive backs, you almost think, well, anybody might be able to come over there and help them just as much as they've struggled. So maybe he's a guy that could play fairly soon.
He's a corner and another guy that I think maybe right away could help out in the return game because he was pretty good at that too.
All right, well, that wraps up the football show, probably until right before spring practice. We'll go on a bit of a hiatus. Dave will dive back into his tape breakdowns, and we'll come back. I guess that it begins in March?
March 9th, I believe, is the first day of spring practices.
Okay, well, join us then.